Hey everybody, this video is called Let's Build, and tonight we're going to continue our pass-through study here in the book of Exodus, looking at chapter 36, where we're going to start looking at the construction of the tabernacle that God has commanded and that God has given directions on how he wants it built. So Exodus chapter 36, starting verse 1 through 3, it says, "And Bezaleel and Elohab, and every gifted artisan in whom the Lord has put wisdom and understanding to know how to do all manner of work for the service of the sanctuary shall do according to all that the Lord has commanded." Then Moses said, "Bezaleel and Aholiab, and every gifted artisan in whose heart the Lord has put wisdom, everyone whose heart was stirred to come and do the work." And they received from Moses all the offering which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of making the sanctuary. So they continued bringing to him freewill offerings every morning. So we see that the workers under Bezaleel and Aholiab were to follow what God had instructed of them to do. And you can think of these two men as like supervisors over the construction of the project. In verse 4 through 7, "Then all the craftsmen who were doing all the work of the sanctuary came each from the work which he was doing. And they spoke to Moses, saying, The people bring much more than enough for the service of the work which the Lord commanded us to do. So Moses gave a commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, let neither man or woman do any more work for the offering of the sanctuary." And the people were restrained from bringing, for the material they had was sufficient for all the work to be done, indeed, too much. So even though the people were stubborn and disobedient at times, we see that they came together, they rose to the occasion, and they voluntarily brought much more than what was actually needed for the construction of the tabernacle. In verse 8 through 13 says, "Then all the gifted artisans among them who worked on the tabernacle made 10 curtains woven of fine linen and of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, with artistic designs of cherubim. They made them. The length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. The curtains were all the same size. And he coupled 5 curtains to one another, and the 5 other curtains he coupled to one another. He made the loops of blue yarn on the edge of the curtain on the self-edge of one set. Likewise, he did on the outer edge of the other curtain on the second set. 50 loops he made on one curtain, and 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain on the end of the second set. The loops held one curtain to another, and he made 50 claps of gold and coupled the curtains to one another with the claps, that it might be one tabernacle." So this is the start of the report of the work being done in past tense through chapter 39. And we'll see the workers being cautious as they carry out the instructions and the blueprints that they had received. And we'll see through the repeated refrain on doing all just as the Lord had commanded to Moses. And we see the curtains of the artistic design of the cherubim that was commanded of them back in Exodus 26, verse 1 through 6. In verse 14 through 18, "He made curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle. He made 11 curtains. The length of each curtain was 30 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. The 11 curtains were the same size. He coupled 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves. He made 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set. 50 loops he made on the edge of the curtain of the second set. He also made 50 bronze claps to couple the tent together, that it might be one. So we look at the curtains of goat's hair as it was commanded and described back in chapter 26, verse 7 through 13. In verse 19, then he made a covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of badger skins above that. So we see the fulfillment now of the command in the description of Exodus 26, verse 14, of the curtains of the rams and the skin dyed red and the badger skins. In verse 20 through 34, says, for the tabernacle he made boards of acacia wood standing upright. The length of each board was 10 cubits, and the width of each board 1.5 cubits. Each board had 2 tenons for binding one to another. Thus he made all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards from the south side. 40 sockets of silver he made to go under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under each of the boards for its 2 tenons. And for the other side of the tabernacle, the north side, he made 20 boards, and there 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. For the west side of the tabernacle, he made 6 boards. He also made 2 boards for the 2 back corners of the tabernacle, and they were coupled at the bottom and coupled together at the top by 1 ring. And then he made both of them for the 2 corners. So there were 8 boards and their sockets, 16 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under each of the boards. And he made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards on one side of the tabernacle, 5 bars for the boards on the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle on the far side westward. And he made the middle bar to pass through the boards from one end to another. He overlaid the boards with gold, made their rings of gold to be holders for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. So this is the fulfillment in long description that was provided back in Exodus chapter 26, verse 15 through 30 of these boards and the connecting bars for the frames and the walls of the tabernacle. In verse 35 through 38, wrapping up the chapter, it says, and he made a veil of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen. It was worked with an artistic design of cherubim. He made it for 4 pillars of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, with their hooks of gold, and he cast 4 sockets of silver for them. He also made a screen for the tabernacle door of blue, purple, and scarlet thread and fine woven linen, made by a weaver, in its 5 pillars with their hooks. And he overlaid their capitals and their rings with gold, but the 5 sockets were bronze. So to wrap up chapter 36 here, I know it's very descriptive of the construction here, but we see another fulfillment of a command that was already given in Exodus in the description that was given back in chapter 26, verse 31 through 33, in Exodus chapter 26, verse 36-37. And it was speaking of the veil with the 4 pillars and the screen with the 5 pillars. And to wrap up, because we're not going to get too far in depth in these verses because it's all description based, but to wrap up, we looked at the coordination of the work, and we looked at the offering that was being asked for, and we see that the people came together. They became strong together. They brought the best offerings, and the offerings they brought more than what was actually needed for the project. So we see that they were filled with huge generosity. And as Christians, this might not be the most entertaining text to us, but this chapter should encourage us as Christians to be generous givers. And we need to be very generous into contributing and also giving what we have been granted by God for the kingdom purposes. And I want to look at Philippians chapter 4, verse 14 through 19, the Apostle Paul says, "Nevertheless, you have done well that you shared in my distress. Now you Philippians know also that in the beginning of the gospel, when I departed from Macedonia, no church shared with me concerning giving and receiving, but you only. For even in Thessalonica, you sent aid once and again for my necessities. Not that I seek the gift, but I seek the fruit that abounds to your account. Indeed, I have all and abound, I am full, having received from Epaphroditus the things sent from you, a sweet smelling aroma, an acceptable sacrifice, well pleasing to God. And my God shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory by Jesus Christ." So the Philippian church is who we should aim to be as for the church. And we need this picture, the Philippian church, to be like us. We need to be generous within the church. In the chapter, it ends with the start of the construction of this tabernacle. And that's going to wrap up tonight's video, shorter than what I've been hitting on, but we'll catch up again on Saturday. We're going to take a break from Exodus on Saturday once again for a topical video that will be announced on Saturday. So I hope you have a great rest of your night. I hope you have a great weekend coming up. God bless.